Hi everyone, welcome to Belle's Books. I'm Carly and today I'm bringing you a review of a very strange book that I've just finished reading. Pieces by Helen Oyeyemi. I'm sorry about the shiny cover. Some bad lighting in here today because it is August but it feels like autumn, which I'm on board with. It's raining outside and it feels very cozy in here. Got my candle going. So this is a library copy, which is why it has this beautiful shiny cover. Pieces by Helen Oyeyemi. Now I'm gonna start this review by saying that my reading experience of this book was quite disjointed because I started this a very long time ago. I think I started it in March. It's now August. And I started reading it and I put it down to pick up something else, and then I just didn't have an inclination to go back to it. And I think that is partly to do with the fact that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Helen Oyeyemi. I've read two of her other books. What's it called? Icarus Girl, which I've read years ago. I can't remember much about, but I remember feeling a little bit the same way about that. And White is for Witching, which I loved. White is for Witching is still my favourite. I think because this was such, like I say, a disjointed reading experience. I started it off, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I put it down for a long while I read other things. And then just recently I picked it back up again and thought, actually, I think I want to finish this. And the point at which I started to read it again was part of the novel where it is told in letters. And I really enjoyed that format. And that really helped to get me back into it and then carry me along to the end. So Helen Oyeyemi, I think, is a bit of a Marmite author. She's not for everyone. She writes very weird stuff, and I'm on board for the weird, but this is very, very weird. And I read a lot of the reviews afterwards, and lots of people were just like, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. And I did feel like that a lot of the way through. I felt like, I don't know what's going on. But I think if you're going into her books, you just have to accept that you're not going to understand everything or a lot of things and just go for the ride. So to outline the basic premise, this book is about a couple, Xavier and Otto, who are not married, but one of them's just changed their surname to be, so they've got the same surname. They're going on a honeymoon, and they are going on a train. And it's like a bit like a very posh kind of Orient Express train ride. They don't know where they're going. They were bought the tickets by, I think it's Xavier's aunt, who just wants them out of the house because they live with her and she wants to do some gambling. So she bought them these tickets to this train ride, which is supposed to be like a leisurely jaunt, you know. And it's weird. So they get on the train with their pet mongoose Arpad. And the train is very kind of elaborate. All the carriages are different and they have kind of different themes. So one is a library carriage, one is a sauna carriage, one is a greenhouse carriage. It's very beautiful and the imagery is great. I love that. It reminded me a little bit of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern in terms of like the descriptions of the place. It was very kind of over the top and magical. This is a very magical book. So there's that element to it. They're going on this honeymoon. They don't know where they're going. Then there's a lot of other strange characters on this train that they meet. So there is the elusive Ava Kapoor, who is the owner of the train. The train is called the Lucky Day, and it is a train that was used for tea smuggling back in the day, and Ava's family were people that were involved in that. So you get a lot of kind of backstory of all of these characters, which I enjoyed. So it's told in multiple POV, so you go into kind of everyone's head and you hear their backstory, and I really enjoyed that, getting little snippets of their life before this situation on the train. And at the heart of this book is a mystery, right? So Otto and Xavier are trying to work out what's the deal with Ava Kapoor, because at the beginning, I think it's Xavier sees that when they board the train, she's holding up a sign and he can't work out whether she's saying hello or help. So the premise is like, is she a prisoner? And does she need help or what? What's the deal? And the people that are looking after her, so there's only like a few other characters. There's Allegra and Laura. I think there's one other and I can't remember all their names. And you get a bit of backstory for all of those as well. Like I said, my reading was disjointed, so the first half of the book I can't remember so much. But they're all kind of being very tender with her, like she needs a lot of looking after because she's a liability. So it's a mystery about what's going on with Ava. And there's also a couple of other characters that come as part of their backstory. And one of the main mysteries is what's the deal between Ava and this guy called Prem. Now, Prem is a man who may or may not be there. So Ava cannot see him anymore. And that's one of the mysteries, like why? Why can't she see him and what's happened? And is he real? So there's a lot of kind of very philosophical, metaphysical questions going on in this novel. It's very layered. I feel like this would work well for multiple readings. Also, the sentences are very beautifully crafted. So at a sentence level, it's very nice to read. There were some sentences where I was like, that's very beautiful. And also there's kind of a very dry wit running through this. There are some parts where I was just like, what? It just made me laugh, but I know, like, really weird things. So Otto and Xavier are trying to work out what's going on with Ava and this guy Prem. There's lots of big themes at play in here. One of them is kind of like this idea of presence and absence. What happens? It might even be talking about cancel culture. Like what happens when someone is kind of negated or their self is marginalized and they are excluded from scenarios or environments. And one of the other big themes is like the self and how you act with certain people and differently with others. So I won't go into spoilers with this, but there is kind of, as you kind of move towards the end of the book, it does make you question, like, wait, are these all separate characters or are they the same person but in a different format? And I listened to an interview with the author where she spoke about it being a book about the premise, like, what if you broke up with someone and they didn't accept that breakup? And like 4 years later, you find out, well, you've been getting on with your life and having another relationship and they kind of come back to you. So I was like, oh, okay. So there's one of the big themes is relationships, because Otto and Xavier are kind of like these not married newlyweds, but they're very much in love. And their kind of intensity of their relationship comes across very well, both in terms of how much they love each other and like their physical connection. But there's also references in the backstories to previous relationships that both of them have had and those connections with other people. And this being set on a train, it's about journeys, it's about movement. And one of the things that I think she said in the author interview was that you see trains as a way to get you from A to B. And she wanted to explore the in-between and like the journey. And what if you look at relationships, past relationships, as not just like, oh, well, that was done with and now I'm in this better place with this better person, but as a contributing kind of event, as part of your own self and own psyche that's developed you as a person, and they still live within you in some way or form. It's all like, that person has contributed to who you are now as part of that relationship and as part of your developing self. And I think that's a really interesting premise. And towards the end, there's a kind of an echo of all of those past relationships and how you think about yourself as a person in a constant state of like becoming. I don't want to bring my PhD into this, but it is a little bit a little bit to do with this thing that I've been writing about, is this sense of becoming, where you're constantly changing as a person from one minute to the next, and you're never just like the stagnant being. So I really like that as a theme, and the way that she kind of looked at that with humour and yeah, and a lot of wit. So I think if I'd read this at a different time, if I had started this book now with my head where it is, I think I would have enjoyed it much more than coming back to it after a long time and not really kind of being on board with it. Because when I first started reading it, I think I was just like, what? I'm so confused. And there is a whole element of that, because you're never going to get everything, because I think with Oyeyemi, like I say, she writes a lot of wacky stuff, and some of it is you just have to let it wash over you and just be like, don't have a clue what's going on, but you know, this is a really nice description of this beautiful greenhouse in a train carriage. So if you just kind of go into it anticipating the vibes and not understanding everything, I think you might enjoy it. And like I said, I think it would benefit from multiple rereadings. You could do some great kind of real deep dive textual analysis on this. And I think I would definitely reread it, but I don't know, I just find I have to be in the right headspace for Helen Oyeyemi, and I wasn't at the beginning of the year, but now I am. And I really enjoyed like reading the last part of this book, and there were things where I was like, well, it was referencing characters that had been mentioned earlier, and I was like, oh wait, was that person mentioned earlier? And I can't remember what that was about. So I kind of wish I'd just like read it all in one go rather than having this big break. But I did kind of like eventually really enjoy the ending of it. It feels a little bit like, yeah, it's just a mixture of things, because it's a mystery, it's set on a train. There were kind of Agatha Christie vibes, which she said in that interview she was kind of a little bit influenced by, what was it, the 450 at Paddington. So there's like kind of lots of nice kind of influences at play here. And I just think it's a really rich novel if you have like the time and patience to go into it and just like not worry about understanding everything. I think you'd have a good time. I also really like books set on trains, so that was pretty cool. And the fact that there's a couple of mongoose in here was just like, okay, mongoose that start, you know, having a love affair. What's not to like about that? I think this was shortlisted for the Goldsmiths Prize. Was it the Goldsmiths or another prize? I can't remember now, but I saw it on a short list, and I was like, I'm going to read that. But and it's also got a little quote from Ali Smith, who is my favourite author, at the top. And Ali Smith says, "A writer of sentences so elegant that they gleam." I would agree with that, because, like I say, her writing at a sentence level is beautiful, and I just really appreciate her as a writer of great sentences. I think she's so clever, and I just think a lot of it goes over my head. I think there's so much kind of at play in here, but yeah, I definitely recommend it if you are down for some weird shiz and, you know, you're not too worried about plot or understanding everything, then give it a go. Yes, I still have Gingerbread to read by her, so I will pick that one up. And what's the other one? Boy Snowbird, I think I might give a go, and Mr. Fox. So she's an author that I struggle with a little bit, but I'm still here for it. I like books that challenge me, and she definitely challenges me as a reader, and I am on board for that. So yeah, I had a good time with this eventually. If you've read it, talk to me in the comments below. Let me know if you've read this or any of her other books and what you thought of them. What is for Witching, still my favourite. And The Icarus Girl, I read that such a long time ago, I can't remember a thing. But yeah, she is an author that I definitely admire. Tell me what you think about Helen Oyeyemi if you've read any of her books, and if you've read Boy Snowbird and Mr. Fox, I think that's what it's called. Which would you recommend I head to next? I'm going to start doing individual reviews, so That's why I did this as a singular book review. Coming up next, I have got Companion Piece by Ali Smith. I've just finished reading that for my PhD. And it's Women in Translation Month now, so I'm going to be reading some books by women in translation, and I will keep you posted about what I read next. Talk to me in the comments below, and I will see you very soon in another video. Take care, everyone.